Economic growth is an indicator of wealth reflecting the quantity of resources available to a society. But it provides no information about the allocation of these resources. Economic development is a normative concept. It applies in the context of people's sense of morality. Economic growth. Economic growth is an increased economic capacity to produce goods and services, compared from one period of time to another, which is conventionally measured by increase in a country's GDP, gross domestic product, or GNP, gross national product, or per capita net domestic product, NDP. Per capita NDP is the most appropriate measure of economic growth. Economic growth comes in two forms. 1. An economy can either grow extensively by using more resources, that is physical, human or natural capital. 2. Intensively by using the same amount of resources more efficiently, productively. Economic development. According to Michael Todrow, economic development is an increase in living standards, improvement in self-esteem, needs and freedom from oppression, as well as a greater choice. It is referred to as the quantitative and qualitative changes in economy, such as development of human capital, critical infrastructure, regional competitiveness, environmental sustainability, social inclusion, health, safety, literacy, etc. Human Development Index, HDI, is the most appropriate measure of economic development. Economic development in all societies must have at least the following objectives: to increase the availability and widen the distribution of basic life-sustaining goods, to raise levels of living by ensuring higher incomes, more jobs and greater attention to culture, to expand the range of economic and social choices available to both individuals and nations. Difference between economic growth and economic development. Economic growth refers to an increase over time in a country's real output of goods and services, GNP. Economic development implies an upward movement of the entire social system in terms of income, savings and investment, along with progressive changes in socio-economic structure of country. Growth relates to a gradual increase in one of the components of GDP: consumption, government spending, investment, net exports. Development relates to growth of human capital index, a decrease in inequality figures and structural changes that improve the general population's quality of life. Growth is qualitative in nature and measured through increase in real GDP. Development is qualitative and measured through HDI, GDI, HPI, etc. Growth is concerned with structural changes in the economy's output. Development is concerned with increase in the economy. Measurement of economic development. To measure economic development is a complex process. Economists have used various yardsticks for measuring economic development. National income and per capita income. This is the traditional approach to measure economic development. World Bank uses the concept of per capita gross national income, GNI, as a measure for comparing and classifying countries based on their stage of economic development. World Development Report, WDR, 2015, subtitled Gender Equality and Development, classifies countries category-wise based on per capita GNI. Since official exchange rate is used in the international comparison of GNI, therefore they do not give a correct picture for two reasons. They are: 1. Purchasing power capacity of a country ignored. 2. Official exchange rate does not reflect the value of non-traded goods. In order to overcome this problem, following the work of I.B. Kravis and others, International Comparisons of Real Product and Purchasing Power, 1978, the UN International Comparison Program gave the Purchasing Power Parity, PPP, method. Purchasing Power Parity, PPP. PPP approach was given by economist Gustav Kassel in 1918. The concept is based on the law of one price, where in the absence of trade and non-trade barriers, identical goods will have same price in different countries. when the prices are expressed in the same currency. The PPP is defined as the number of units of a country's currency required to buy the same amount of goods and services in the domestic market as $1 would buy in the United States. Example: if we have to spend 30 rupees for purchasing the same amount of goods and services as are purchased in spending $1 in USA, then the exchange rate in PPP approach is $1 is equal to 30. Physical Quality of Life Index, PQLI. PQLI was the first attempt towards providing comprehensive measure of economic development. It was developed by David Morris in the mid-1970s. PQLI is the average of three values: their life expectancy, basic literacy rate, and infant mortality rate. Each value was scaled on 1 to 100, where 1 represents the worst and 100 represents the best. Human Development Index, HDI. The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, introduced the HDI in its first Human Development Report, HDR, prepared under the stewardship of Mabab-ul-Haq in 1990. Life Expectancy Index, LEI, Educational Attainment Index, EAI, and Standard of Living Index, SLI, are key indicators of HDI. Life expectancy refers to life expectancy at birth, not at age 1. Educational Attainment Index, EAI, is a combination of adult literacy rate and combined enrollment ratio. Standard of Living Index, SLI, is represented here by the concept of purchasing power parity, PPP. Per capita income is converted into PPP in terms of US dollar. Human Development Report, HDR, 2016. The United Nations Human Development Report, 2016 was released on 21 March 2017 with the title, Human Development for Everyone. As per the 25th edition report, 2 billion people lifted out of low human development in last 25 years. In the 2016 report, India with a score of 0.624 has been ranked 131 out of 188 countries in terms of HDI. In the 2015 report, India was ranked 130 out of 188 countries. Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index, Gender Inequality Index, GII, and Multidimensional Poverty Index, MPI, were introduced in HDR from the year 2010. Gender Development Index is introduced first time in HDR in 2014. The following indexes have been issued by Human Development Report. Human Development Group. Index value. Very high human development. 0.800 and above. High human development. 0.701 and above. Medium human development. 0.550 and above. Low human development. 0.352 and above. Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index, IHDI. IHDI adjusts the Human Development Index, HDI, for inequality in distribution of each dimension across the population. The IHDI accounts for inequalities in HDI dimensions by discounting each dimension's average value according to its level of inequality. The IHDI equals the HDI when there is no inequality across people, but is less than the HDI as inequality rises. In this sense, the IHDI is the actual level of human development, accounting for this inequality, while the HDI can be viewed as an index of potential human development, or the maximum level of HDI that could be achieved if there was no inequality. The loss in potential human development due to inequality is given by the difference between the HDI and the IHDI and can be expressed as a percentage. Gender Inequality Index, GII. GII reflects women's disadvantage in 3 dimensions: reproductive health, empowerment and the labor market for as many countries as data of reasonable quality allow. The index shows the loss in human development due to inequality between female and male achievements in these dimensions. It ranges from 0, which indicates that women and men fare equal to 1, which indicates that women fare as poorly as possible in all measured dimensions. Gender Development Index, GDI. The new GDI measures gender gap in human development achievements in 3 basic dimensions of human development: health, measured by male and female life expectancy at birth, education and command over economic resources. HDR 2016. HDI, Human Development Index. Top 5 countries are Norway, Australia, Switzerland, Germany, Denmark. Lowest 5 countries are Central African Republic, Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, Burundi. But India, with a score of 0.624, India ranked 131 out of 188 countries. IHDI, Inequality Adjusted Human Development Index. Top 5 countries are Norway, Iceland, Australia, Netherlands, Germany. Lowest 5 countries are Central African Republic, Niger, Chad, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone. But India, with a score of 0.454, India ranked 97 out of 151 countries. GII, Gender Inequality Index, 2013. Top 5 countries are Switzerland, Denmark, Netherlands, Sweden, Iceland. But India, with a score of 0.530, India ranked 125 out of 159 countries. Gross National Happiness, GNH. The term, gross national happiness was coined in 1972 by Bhutan's then King Jigme Singay Wangchuk. GNH was designed in an attempt to define an indicator that measures quality of life or social progress in more holistic and psychological terms than the economic indicator of GDR. It is not measured directly, but only by the factors which are believed to lead to it. A second-generation GNH concept, treating happiness as a socio-economic development metric, was proposed in 2006 by Maid Jones. GNH value is proposed to be an index function of the total average per capita of the following measures: economic wellness, physical wellness, workplace wellness, political wellness, environmental wellness, mental wellness, social wellness. Genuine Progress Indicator, GPI. The GPI is a concept in green economics and welfare economics. A GPI attempts to measure whether or not a country's increased production of goods and expanding services have actually resulted in the improvement of welfare of the people of the country. Genuine Progress Indicator refers to the concept of a quantitative measurement of well-being and happiness. The two measures of GPI and GNH are both motivated by the notion that subjective measures like well-being are more relevant and important than more objective measures like consumption. Multidimensional Poverty Index, MPI. MPL was developed in 2010 by Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative and UNDP, and different factors to determine poverty beyond income-based list were used. The MPL is an index of acute multidimensional poverty. It shows the number of the people who are multidimensionally poor, suffering deprivation in 33% of weighted indicators, and the number of deprivation with which poor households typically contend. It reflects deprivation in very rudimentary services and core human functioning for people across 104 countries. The index uses same 3 dimensions as the Human Development Index, such as health, education and standard of living. These are measured using 10 indicators, dimensions and their 10 indicators. For health indicators are child mortality and nutrition. For education indicators are years of schooling and children enrolled. For living standards indicators are cooking fuel, toilet, water, electricity, floor and assets. Each dimension and each indicator within a dimension is equally weighted. The lower and the index value of lesser the multidimensional poverty. MPI in some Asian countries. Bangladesh 0.188. Bhutan 0.128. China 0.023. India 0.282. Nepal 0.116. Pakistan 0.237. Global Hunger Index, GHI. GHI is designed to measure and track hunger globally and by country and region. It is calculated each year by the International Food Policy Research Institute, IFPRI. The Global Hunger Index, GHI, was first released by IFPRI in 2006. GHI Report 2017. The 2015 Global Hunger Index report is entitled 2017 Global Hunger Index, The Inequalities of Hunger. To reflect the multidimensional nature of hunger, the GHI 2017 combines the following four component indicators into one index. 1. Undernourishment. 2. Child wasting. 3. Child stunting. 4. Child mortality. The GHI ranks countries on a 100-point scale. 0 is the best score, no hunger, and 100 is the worst. Although neither of these extremes is reached in practice. As per 2017 report, India stands 100th position out of 119 countries. Green Gross Domestic Product, Green GDP. Green GDP is an index of economic growth with the environmental consequences of that growth factored in. Green GDP monetized the loss of biodiversity and accounts for costs caused by climate change. Some environmental experts prefer physical indicators, such as waste per capita or carbon dioxide emissions per year, which may be aggregated to indices such as the Sustainable Development Index. Sustainable Development Index, SDI. The Sustainable Development is defined as the development to achieve the needs of present generation without compromising future generations' need. Sustainable development ensures the well-being of individual by integrating social development, economic development and environmental conservation and protection. The challenges of sustainable development are population, poverty, inequality, the shortage of drinking water, human health, consumption of energy, deforestation and petrol consumption. Human Sustainable Development Index, HSDI. HSDI was developed in 2010 by independent economists. HSDI attempts to measure the overall quality of life by factoring in a fourth parameter per capita carbon emission to the existing HDI. According to HSDI, the top 5 countries are Norway, followed by New Zealand, Sweden, Switzerland and France. National Prosperity Index, NPI. NPI is a standard measure of social and economic development. Its 3 components are as follows. 1. GDP growth rate. 2. Improvement in the quality of life. 3. Use of cultural heritage based on a value system in each area of life. Former President APJ Abdul Kalam said that the country's economic growth should always be guided by National Prosperity Index, that includes components like improvement of quality of life and adoption of a value system derived from our ancient civilization besides GDP. SARC Prosperity Index idea is given by Abdul Kalam on the basis of NPI. Millennium Development Goals, MDGs. MDGs were eventuated at the UN's Millennium Summit 2000, where the world leaders of 189 CJN member states, 193 currently, agreed on a set of quantifiable and monitorable goals for development and poverty eradication to be achieved by 2015. MDGs Report 2015. UN released the Global Report on MDGs. NITI Aayog released the Asia Pacific MDGs Report 2015. India has managed to reduce its extreme poverty incidence to a half from 49.4% in 1994 to 24.7% in 2011. The report set the limit for extreme poverty as those living on $1.25 or less a day. New Global Goals. The United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, formally adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development on 26 September 2015, along with a set of bold new global goals. The 193 members GA adopted the new framework, Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, composed of 17 goals and 169 targets to wipe out poverty, fight inequality and tackle climate change over the next 15 years. Ambitious 17 goals are no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequality, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice and strong institution and partnership for the goals. Different levels of economic development. Developing country. A developing country is a country that has not reached the Western-style standard of democratic government, free market economy, industrialization, social programmes and human rights guarantees for their citizens. Newly industrialized countries, NIC. The word NIC is used for those countries which have more advanced economy than other developing nations, but which have not yet fully demonstrated the signs of a developed country. Emerging markets. These are countries with social or business activity in the process of rapid growth and industrialization. Many of the countries like India and China earlier considered to be emerging are now said to have emerged, and the term is considered to be outdated by many. Economy and environment. Natural and environmental resources have three economic roles: waste disposal services related to the environment's assimilative capacity, natural resource inputs into production and directly consumed life support services and aesthetic amenities. The natural and environmental resource input function is central to understanding the relationship between economic growth and environment. Sustainable development. Economic development without environmental considerations can cause serious environmental damage, in turn, impairing the quality of life of present and future generations. Sustainable development attempts to strike a balance between the demands of the economic development and the need for protection of the environment. It seeks to combine the elements of economic efficiency, intergenerational equity, social concerns and environmental protection. Although the term sustainable development has many interpretations, it generally refers to non-declining human well-being over time. Sustainable development was defined by the Brundtland Commission, 1987, as the meeting of the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Need of sustainable development. The concept of sustainable development aims at maximizing the net benefits of economic activities, subject to maintaining the stock of productive assets, physical, human and environmental, over time, and providing a social safety net to meet the basic needs of the poor. Sustainable development, therefore, attempts to accelerate development in an environmentally responsible manner, keeping in mind the intergenerational equity requirements. The spirit of the conference was captured by the expression harmony with nature, brought into the fore with the first principle of the Rio Declaration: human beings are at the center of concerns for sustainable development. They are entitled to a healthy and productive life in harmony with nature. In 1993, UNCED instituted the Commission on Sustainable Development, CSD, to follow up on the implementation of Agenda 21. In 2002, 10 years after the Rio Declaration, a follow-up conference, the World Summit on Sustainable Development, WSSD, was convened in Johannesburg to renew the global commitment to sustainable development. The conference agreed on the Johannesburg Plan of Implementation, JPOL, and further tasked the CSD to follow up on the implementation of sustainable development. In December 2009, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution agreeing to hold the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, UNCSD, also referred to as Rio Plus 20 or Rio 20. In 2012, the member states have agreed on the following two themes for the conference: green economy within the context of sustainable development and poverty eradication and institutional framework for sustainable development. Strain sustainability rule is a rule which requires a separate preservation of each category of critical asset, assuming these to be complements rather than substitutes. Weak sustainability rule is a rule which seeks to maintain the aggregate monetary value of the total stock of assets, assuming a high degree of substitutability among the various asset types. Measuring India's environmental performance. In a recent ranking of Environmental Performance Index EPI 2018 was placed 177 out of 180 countries. The EPI exercise is nevertheless useful in flagging some areas of concern. India should do better on public health and environmentally preventable child mortality, as has Bangladesh. India scored 5.75 out of 100 air quality. India's performance in air quality is disappointing. Delhi is always in the news for its poor air quality. India's total forest cover has registered a 0.2% increase between 2015 and 2017. Environmental taxes. As against the command and control approach to management of the environment, the economic or market-based instruments, MDGs, approach sends economic signals to the polluters to modify their behavior. The approach normally involves financial transfers between polluters and the community and affects relative prices. But the polluters have freedom to respond and adjust in the manner they want. They can, thus, choose the least cost option to meet the requirements. Hence, it is considered to be an efficient approach compared to the approach based on standards and regulations. The MDGs, therefore, have the benefit of being flexible and cost-effective, providing incentives for dynamic efficiency and resource transfer. 12th Five-Year Plan and Sustainability. Carbon tax. India has cut subsidies and increased taxes on fossil fuels, petrol and diesel, turning a carbon subsidy regime into one of carbon taxation. This has significantly increased petrol and diesel price while reducing annual CO2 emissions. Excise duties on petrol or diesel also act as an implicit carbon tax by putting and affecting price emissions. Recently, the Government of India revised its coal cess from Rs. 50 per tonne to Rs. 100 per tonne. 12th Five-Year Plan and Sustainability. The 12th Five-Year Plan is the first time five-year plan has sustainability as a prominent focus and appreciates its emphasis on low-carbon growth strategies. Monitorable targets for the 12th Plan. To increase forest and free cover by 5% points. To improve forest production and maintain biodiversity. To clean all critically polluted rivers by 2020. To reduce 20 to 25% energy use per unit of GDP by 2020. to reclaim wetlands, island, lakes, ponds by 2017. Green accounting. Green accounting is focused on addressing deficiencies in conventional accounts with respect to the environment, integrated environment and economic, green, accounting. Therefore, attempts at accounting for both socio-economic performance and its environmental effects and integrating environmental concerns into mainstream economic planning and policies. Such integrated accounts can be useful in assessing the sustainability of economic growth and also the structural distortion of the economy by environmentally unsound production and consumption patterns. Subscribe to our channel. Link for PDF is in description.